I stood near the bar at the country club, watching my sister Lauren hold court in the center of the ballroom. Dad's retirement party was in full swing. 200 guests, an open bar, a jazz band playing softly in the corner. Lauren's voice carried across the room, that practiced laugh that signaled she was about to say something she found particularly clever. So I told the partners, Lauren was saying to a circle of admirers, that the Riverside merger would only work if we restructured the debt obligations. And I was right, of course. Closed last week for $8.3 billion. My bonus alone was enough to buy that beach house in the Hamptons. Appreciative murmurs rippled through her audience. I sipped my water, staying in the shadows near the bar where the lighting was dim and people were less likely to notice me. Lauren's always been brilliant with numbers, Mom said loudly from across the room. Harvard MBA, youngest partner in her firm's history. We're so proud. Dad nodded, beaming. Both my girls are successful. Lauren with her investment banking career and Emma with her internet thing. Internet business, Lauren corrected, her tone dripping with condescension. Emma's playing entrepreneur online. It's very cute. Very millennial. Several people laughed. I continued drinking my water. What exactly does Emma do? Someone asked. Karen Mitchell, one of Mom's tennis friends. Oh, you know, Lauren waved her hand dismissively. One of those tech startups. She builds websites or apps or something. Works from home in her pajamas, probably. Very casual, very low pressure. Not like real corporate work, but it keeps her busy. I think it's nice, another woman said. Not everyone needs to work in high finance. Some people prefer simpler lives. Exactly, Mom agreed, though her tone suggested this was a consolation prize rather than a compliment. Emma's always been more creative. Less interested in traditional success metrics. She's happy with her little business and that's what matters. I set down my water glass and moved slightly closer to the group, still in the periphery but within earshot. Lauren noticed me and smiled brightly. Emma, we were just talking about you. Come tell everyone about your internet business. What is it you do again? Build websites for small companies. Something like that, I said quietly. See, she's so modest about it, Lauren said to her audience. Won't even explain what she does. I think she's embarrassed to talk about it in front of all these corporate executives. Emma, there's no shame in running a small online business. It's honest work. Very honest, I agreed. How many employees do you have now? Lauren asked, her voice syrupy with false interest. Last time we talked, I think you said you were doing everything yourself. Just you and your laptop, working from your apartment. The team has grown, I said. Oh good. How many now? 3. 4. Lauren turned to her audience. Small businesses like Emma's usually stay pretty lean. Low overhead, minimal staff. That's how they stay profitable. Something like that. And revenue? Lauren pressed, enjoying herself now. I mean, you don't have to share exact numbers, but are you pulling in 6 figures yet? That would be quite an accomplishment for a home-based internet business. We're doing fine, I said. That's wonderful, Mom interjected, clearly trying to end the conversation before it became more embarrassing. Emma's always been self-sufficient. She doesn't need fancy offices or big teams. She's happy with her lifestyle. It's admirable, really, Karen said. In this economy, just keeping a small business afloat is impressive. Lauren raised her champagne glass. To Emma and her internet business. May it continue to provide her with a comfortable living. Several people raised their glasses in a toast that felt more like pity than celebration. I nodded acknowledgement and returned to the shadows near the bar. The bartender, a young woman probably in her mid-20s, leaned over. That was brutal. Your sister. Unfortunately. She seems like a real piece of work. She's successful, I said. Investment banking, Harvard MBA, youngest partner, $8 billion deals. She's earned the right to be confident. There's a difference between confident and cruel, the bartender observed. Want another water? Please. He poured me a fresh glass. For what it's worth, I think internet businesses are cool. My brother works in tech. Says it's the future of everything. Your brother's smart. He thinks he is, she grinned. Always going on about disruption and innovation and changing the world. Drives my parents crazy because he won't get a real job. She made air quotes. I smiled slightly. Sounds familiar. Near the entrance to the ballroom, someone had turned on one of the large television screens mounted on the wall, probably to show a slideshow of Dad's career highlights. But instead of photos, Bloomberg television was playing, the volume low but the closed captions visible. I checked my watch. 7:47 p.m. Perfect timing. Lauren was still holding court, now discussing her recent vacation to Monaco. The yacht was 200 feet fully staffed. We spent a week just cruising the Mediterranean. That's the benefit of working at my level. You can actually afford to live well. Must be nice, someone said. It is, Lauren agreed without false modesty. I work hard, I get paid well, I enjoy the fruits of my labor. That's how capitalism is supposed to work. Some of us are still climbing that ladder, a man in an expensive suit said, Tom Bradley, one of Dad's colleagues from his banking days. Not all of us have cracked the 8-figure bonus range yet. You will, Lauren assured him. If you're smart, strategic, and willing to put in the hours. Success is available to those who really want it. The implication hung in the air, that people who weren't as successful as Lauren simply hadn't wanted it enough. On the television screen, the Bloomberg anchor was shuffling papers, preparing for the next segment. The closed captions read, "Coming up after the break. Breaking news in the tech world. We'll reveal the identity of Silicon Valley's newest billionaire and discuss what this means for the industry." A few people near the TV noticed and turned to watch. The bartender glanced up at the screen, then back at me. "You okay?" she asked quietly. "You look nervous." "Just tired," I said. "These parties are exhausting." "Tell me about it." "I've been on my feet for 4 hours." The commercial break seemed to last forever. Lauren had moved on to discussing her upcoming promotion. Managing partner, the firm's youngest ever. Mom and Dad were glowing with pride, soaking up reflected glory. "Lauren's always been exceptional," Dad was saying to Tom Bradley. "Even as a child you could tell she was destined for greatness. Top of her class in everything, naturally gifted with numbers, incredible work ethic." "You must be proud of both your daughters," Tom said politely. "Oh, absolutely," Dad said quickly. "Emma's great too. Different path, but that's fine. Not everyone can be a high-powered executive. Someone has to run the small businesses." "The internet business," Mom clarified. "She works online. Very modern." "Does she make decent money at it?" Tom asked. Mom and Dad exchanged glances. "She does fine," Mom said vaguely. "Enough to support herself. That's all we can ask, really." The Bloomberg program returned from commercial break. The anchor, a sharp-looking woman in a navy suit, faced the camera directly. "Welcome back. I'm Jennifer Zhao, and we have breaking news tonight that's sending shockwaves through the technology and financial sectors." More people were turning toward the television now, drawn by the anchor's urgent tone. Someone reached for the remote and increased the volume. "For months, there have been rumors about a stealth tech company that's been quietly revolutionizing cloud infrastructure and AI integration," Jennifer Zhao continued. "The company, operating under the name Helix Systems, has been largely invisible to the public despite servicing 97 of the Fortune 100 companies." Lauren glanced at the television with mild interest. Several of her banking colleagues were paying closer attention now. This was their world, their industry. "Tonight we can exclusively reveal the identity of Helix Systems founder and CEO, Jennifer said. "And the numbers are staggering." According to documents filed with the SEC this afternoon, following the company's surprise IPO announcement, the founder's equity stake is worth approximately. She paused for effect. $1.2 trillion. The ballroom went silent. Every head turned toward the television. "That's trillion with a T," Jennifer emphasized, making this individual not just a billionaire, but the world's youngest trillionaire, and one of only 3 people to ever reach this wealth threshold. Lauren's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. No one noticed. Every eye was fixed on the screen. The company's IPO, announced just hours ago, valued Helix Systems at $3.8 trillion, making it the most valuable company in history, surpassing Apple, Microsoft, and Saudi Aramco combined. The founder retained a 32% stake, along with majority voting control. Photos began appearing on screen. Images of servers, data centers, corporate headquarters I recognized from my daily video calls. Helix Systems has been described as the invisible backbone of modern business, Jennifer continued. Their proprietary AI integration platform processes over 15 trillion data points daily for clients including every major bank, tech company, government agency, and multinational corporation. Industry analysts are calling it the most significant technological advancement since the invention of the Internet itself. This is insane, someone whispered in the ballroom. A trillionaire? Who is it? Tom Bradley asked, moving closer to the screen. Who's the founder? Jennifer Zhao smiled at the camera. The founder and CEO, who has maintained an extraordinarily low profile despite building this empire, is 29-year-old Emma Rodriguez. My full name appeared on screen, along with a professional photo I'd taken last year for the company website. The one I'd been hoping to avoid using publicly for at least another 6 months. The silence in the ballroom was absolute. Then slowly every head turned toward me. I took another sip of my water, meeting their stares calmly. Emma Rodriguez founded Helix Systems 7 years ago at age 22, working from her apartment with nothing but a laptop and a revolutionary algorithm she'd developed during her undergraduate studies at MIT, Jennifer continued. The company grew exponentially, operating in complete stealth mode while signing enterprise contracts with virtually every major corporation in the world. The screen showed financial charts. Revenue growth that looked like a hockey stick, client acquisition numbers that seemed impossible, profit margins that made even the most successful companies look inefficient. Rodriguez has never given a public interview, never appeared at industry conferences, and maintained absolute privacy while building what is now the world's most valuable company. Our sources indicate she lives modestly, works 18-hour days, and has reinvested every dollar of profit back into the company, until now. Another photo appeared on screen, this one from a video call showing me in my home office wearing casual clothes surrounded by monitors. Mom's hand had gone to her mouth. Dad stood frozen, his face pale. Lauren was staring at the television like it was showing something impossible, something that couldn't be real. The IPO announcement came as a complete surprise to Wall Street, Jennifer said. Helix Systems has been privately held with 0 outside investors. Rodriguez has funded all growth organically from revenue. Financial analysts are scrambling to understand how a company this large, this profitable, and this essential to global business infrastructure remained completely unknown until today. Tom Bradley found his voice first. Emma Rodriguez. Is that you? He was looking at me, then at the screen, then back at me. Yes, I said simply. You built. He couldn't complete the sentence. On screen, Jennifer was interviewing a financial analyst via video link. This changes everything, the analyst said. Helix Systems isn't just a tech company, it's critical infrastructure for the global economy. Every major financial transaction, every AI-powered decision system, every cloud-based operation, they all run through Helix's platform. Emma Rodriguez has essentially created a monopoly on modern business technology, and did it so quietly that no one even noticed until today. How is that possible? Jennifer asked. Because enterprise technology is invisible to consumers, the analyst explained. You don't see it, don't interact with it directly. But every time you use a banking app, stream a video, search online, make a purchase, Helix Systems is processing that data in the background, making it all work. She built the infrastructure that powers everything else. Lauren finally found her voice. This isn't possible. Emma, you said you had a small internet business. You said you worked from home. You implied you were barely making ends meet. I never said any of those things, I corrected gently. You said those things. I just didn't correct you. But you let us think. Mom couldn't finish. I let you make assumptions, I said. Every family gathering for 7 years, you've asked me about my little internet business with that tone that implied it was insignificant. I answered honestly, I do run an internet business. I do work from home sometimes. I never lied. You just never asked follow-up questions. The television continued. Jennifer Zhao was now showing footage of Helix Systems' global headquarters, a stunning campus of glass and steel buildings that I'd designed specifically to inspire innovation and collaboration. The company employs over 40,000 people across 32 countries, Jennifer said. Employees describe Rodriguez as a visionary leader who's deeply involved in both strategic direction and technical development. Despite her wealth, she's known for maintaining a modest lifestyle and focusing obsessively on the work itself. Photos scrolled across the screen. Images of me at company events, always in the background, always dressed simply, always avoiding the spotlight. Except now the spotlight had found me whether I wanted it or not. Emma, Dad said, his voice hoarse. Is this real? Are you really a trillionaire? According to the SEC filings, yes, I said. Though the actual number fluctuates with stock price. Could be higher or lower tomorrow depending on market response. $1.2 trillion, Lauren said, her voice hollow. That's more than the GDP of most countries. Approximately equal to Mexico's GDP, I confirmed. Though again, that's just on paper. Most of it's equity in the company, not liquid assets. Just on paper, Lauren repeated. Emma, that's more money than anyone in this room could spend in 100 lifetimes. Which is why most of it will eventually go to philanthropic causes, I said. But that's a later discussion. The bartender was staring at me with wide eyes. You're a trillionaire? And you've been standing here drinking water and chatting with me about internet businesses. The water's good, I said. And you were nice to me. That matters more than you'd think. On screen, Bloomberg had brought in additional experts to discuss the implications. An economist was explaining how Helix Systems' IPO would affect global markets. A technology analyst was discussing the company's competitive advantages. A business professor was analyzing what this meant for entrepreneurship and innovation. What strikes me most, the professor said, is that Emma Rodriguez did this without venture capital, without acquisitions, without the typical Silicon Valley playbook. She built technology so essential that customers came to her, rather than her having to chase customers. That's extraordinary. And she stayed private for 7 years, the economist added. Maintaining total control, answering to no one but herself. That kind of patience and vision is almost unprecedented in tech. Karen Mitchell, Mom's tennis friend, approached me hesitantly. Emma, I don't understand. If you've been running this company for 7 years, why didn't you ever mention it? I did mention it, I said. Every time someone asked what I did, I said I ran a tech company that does cloud infrastructure and AI integration. People just assumed that meant something small. Because you never corrected us, Lauren said, her voice sharp. You let us think you were struggling. You let us pity you. I never asked for pity, I said. You offered it freely based on your own assumptions. I was busy building a company. While letting your family think you were barely getting by, Mom said. Emma, how could you do that to us? Do what? I asked. Work hard. Build something significant. Not brag about it constantly. I looked directly at Lauren. I'm not the one who needs to announce my bonus at every family gathering. Lauren's face flushed red. That's different. I was sharing my success with family. No, I said quietly. You were performing success. Making sure everyone knew how much money you made, how impressive your deals were, how superior your lifestyle was. There's a difference between sharing and performing. The television showed more graphics. Helix Systems' global reach, its client list, its revenue growth, its technological innovations. Each revelation made Lauren's $8 billion deal seem smaller by comparison. The company's revenue last year was approximately $2.3 trillion, Jennifer Zhao reported. Profit margins of 42%, extraordinary for any company, let alone one this size. Rodriguez has essentially created a technology monopoly that's both legal and essential to modern commerce. Tom Bradley let out a low whistle. $2.3 trillion in revenue. Emma, that's more than the entire banking sector. More than most sectors individually, I confirmed, though our costs are substantial. 40,000 employees, 32 data centers worldwide, constant R&D investment. It's expensive to run the internet's backbone. The internet's backbone, Dad repeated slowly. Emma, why didn't you tell us? We're your family. Because every time I tried to talk about my work, you changed the subject or minimized it, I said. When I mentioned signing a major client, you'd say, that's nice, dear, and ask Lauren about her latest bonus. When I explained what Helix Systems does, you'd glaze over and say it sounded complicated. You weren't interested in my work. You were interested in Lauren's version of success. That's not fair, Mom protested. Isn't it? I asked. Lauren, How many times have you called my business cute? How many times have you implied I was playing entrepreneur while you did real work? Lauren's silence was answer enough. On television, Jennifer Zhao was wrapping up the segment. The question now is what Rodriguez will do with this wealth. Will she remain focused on Helix Systems, or will she expand into other ventures? Will she become a public figure, or continue maintaining her privacy? One thing is certain. At 29 years old, Emma Rodriguez has fundamentally changed both the technology industry and the global economy. This is a story we'll be following closely in the months and years ahead. The program moved on to other news, but no one in the ballroom moved. They were all still staring at me. Finally, one of Dad's former colleagues stepped forward. Gerald Wong, a senior executive at a major corporation. I have to ask. Does my company use Helix Systems? If you work at Stellar Industries, yes, I said. You've been a client for 4 years. We process all your cloud operations, AI analytics, and global communications infrastructure. By God, Gerald said. We pay you. I can't even imagine what we pay you. Approximately $400 million annually, I said. Though that's bundled services. Individual components vary. $400 million, Gerald repeated. And we're just one client. You're one of 97 Fortune 100 clients, I said. Plus several hundred smaller enterprise accounts, government contracts, and international corporations. It adds up. Lauren had sunk into a nearby chair, her face ashen. I don't understand. How did you build this? How did you sign all those clients without anyone knowing? Enterprise sales happen quietly, I explained. Companies don't announce their infrastructure providers publicly. That's proprietary information. I built a superior product, demonstrated its value, and clients came to us. Then they told other clients. Word of mouth in the enterprise space is incredibly powerful. But no venture capital? Tom asked. No outside investors? Didn't need them, I said. First client paid enough to fund infrastructure for the second client. Second client paid enough for the third and fourth. Exponential growth funded organically. No debt, no dilution, complete control. That's impossible, Lauren said. Every tech company needs venture capital. That's how the industry works. That's how the industry has worked, I corrected. I did it differently. Built something so essential that customers paid premium prices, then used that revenue to scale. Slower growth initially, but no loss of control and no obligation to prioritize short-term profits over long-term vision. The bartender was still staring at me. You're really worth $1 trillion? On paper, based on today's SEC filing and projected IPO price, I said. Ask me tomorrow and it might be different. Markets are volatile. Still, she said. That's insane. You were just standing here being normal. I am normal, I said. I just happen to own a very valuable company. Mom approached slowly, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry. We've been awful to you. You've been dismissive, I agreed. But not intentionally awful. You genuinely believed I was running a small business. That belief was based on assumptions, not malice. But we should have asked, Dad said. Should have been interested enough to learn what you were actually doing. Yes, I said simply. You should have. Lauren stood abruptly. I need air. She walked quickly toward the terrace, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. I watched her go, then looked at my parents. I should probably leave. This is Dad's retirement party, not a venue for family drama. Stay, Dad said. Please. We need to talk about this. Really talk. What's there to talk about? I asked. You now know what I do. The information is out there. Everything's changed and nothing's changed. Everything's changed, Mom insisted. Emma, you're a trillionaire. That changes everything. Does it? I asked. Does knowing my net worth change who I am? Does it change that you've spent 7 years treating my work as insignificant? Does it change that you never thought to ask basic questions about what I was building? The ballroom had emptied considerably, people slipping away to call colleagues, check stock prices, Google Helix Systems, process what they'd just learned. The remaining guests watched our family drama unfold with obvious fascination. We were wrong, Dad said. Completely wrong. About your business, about your success, about everything. We're sorry. I know you are, I said. But apologies don't change 7 years of dismissiveness. They don't change that you believed Lauren's version of success was superior to mine without ever investigating what I was actually doing. Because we're idiots, Dad said bluntly. We saw Lauren's visible success, the bonuses, the deals, the lifestyle, and assumed that was what success looked like. We didn't realize you were building something exponentially larger while living modestly and avoiding attention. Most people don't realize, I said. That's by design. The company's value comes from being essential infrastructure, not from being visible. I don't need name recognition. I need to process 15 trillion data points daily without failure. That's not glamorous, but it's important. Gerald Wong approached again. Emma, I hate to interrupt, but I need to know. Is Helix Systems' platform secure? Because if our entire corporate infrastructure runs through your systems. It's secure, I said. Military-grade encryption, redundant systems across all data centers, zero downtime in 6 years, regular security audits by independent firms. Your data is safer with us than anywhere else. And the IPO? Will that affect our service? Not at all, I said. The IPO is about liquidity and transparency, not about changing operations. Same platform, same team, same security standards. Nothing changes for clients. Good, Gerald said. Because losing access to your platform would cripple us. We're completely dependent on Helix Systems. I know, I said. That's why we maintain such rigorous standards. Your dependence is our responsibility. He nodded and walked away, already pulling out his phone to call colleagues. The bartender appeared at my elbow with a fresh water. Thought you might need this. It's been a hell of a night. Thanks, I said, accepting the glass. For what it's worth, she said quietly, I think it's cool that you didn't brag about all this. My brother would have been insufferable if he'd built something like that. But you just stood here being normal. Being normal is underrated, I said. Lauren returned from the terrace, her makeup freshly repaired, her expression carefully neutral. She approached me directly. I owe you an apology, Lauren said stiffly. I've been condescending about your work. That was wrong. Yes, it was. I genuinely thought you were running a small business. I had no idea you'd built something this significant. Because you never asked, I said. You made assumptions and never questioned them. I know. Lauren's voice cracked slightly. Emma, I've spent 7 years feeling superior to you. Pitying you. Thinking I was the successful sister. And all along you were building something that makes my entire career look like a rounding error. Your career is impressive, I said. $8 billion deals are significant. You're good at what you do. But I'm not you, Lauren said. I'm not even in the same universe as you. My entire year's bonus is less than your company makes in an hour. I did the math quickly. Approximately, yes. Lauren laughed, a sound somewhere between amusement and hysteria. How do you live with that? Knowing you're worth more than most countries. I don't think about it much, I said honestly. I think about the technology, the problems we're solving, the innovations we're developing. The money is just a measurement of value created, not a personal identity. That's easy to say when you have $1 trillion. Is it? I asked. Lauren, you've spent 7 years measuring your worth by your bonus. Your identity is tied to your compensation. Now you're confronted with someone whose compensation is incomprehensible, and you're having an identity crisis. That's not about money, it's about how you've chosen to define success. How do you define it? Lauren asked. Impact, I said simply. Helix Systems processes data for 97 of the world's most important companies. We enable global commerce, secure communications, advanced research, financial transactions. That impact matters more than the dollar value attached to it. But the dollar value is $1 trillion, Lauren said. You can't just dismiss that. I'm not dismissing it. I'm contextualizing it. Yes, the number is large. But it's large because the platform is essential. The value reflects the impact, not personal superiority. Mom had been listening quietly. Emma, what happens now? With the company, with you, with everything. The IPO proceeds as planned, I said. We go public, sell 20% of the company to institutional investors, maintain control through voting shares. Use the capital to expand into quantum computing and advanced AI. Continue doing what we've been doing, just with more transparency. And personally, Dad asked. What happens to you personally? I shrugged. Tomorrow I'll wake up, work on code for our next platform upgrade, attend meetings with the engineering team, review expansion plans for the Singapore data center. Same as always. The only difference is now everyone knows about it. You can't be serious, Lauren said. Emma, you're a trillionaire. You can do anything. Buy anything. Go anywhere. I can do those things now, I pointed out. I've been able to do them for years. I chose to work instead because the work matters more than the consumption. That's insane. That's focus, I corrected. Lauren, you work 80-hour weeks to make millions and buy beach houses. I work 80-hour weeks to build technology that enables global commerce. We both work hard, we just have different priorities. The party had effectively ended. Guests were leaving, though many stopped to congratulate me or express shock or ask questions about Helix systems. I answered politely, patiently, aware that this was just the beginning of a new reality where privacy would be nearly impossible. Finally, only family remained in the ballroom. Mom, Dad, Lauren, and me. The bartender was packing up, occasionally glancing over at our tense gathering. I should go, I said. It's been a long day. Emma, wait, Mom said. We need to talk about this. Really process what happened tonight. What's there to process? I asked. You learned I'm successful. More successful than you realized. That's the entire story. It's not that simple, Dad insisted. We've been treating you like a child playing at business for 7 years. We've been condescending, dismissive, unsupportive. That's not something we can just move past. Then don't move past it, I said. Sit with it. Think about why you made those assumptions. Question what you believe about success and how you judge people. That's uncomfortable work, but it's valuable. How are you not angry? Lauren demanded. I would be furious if I were you. I'd rub this in everyone's faces, make them all feel terrible for underestimating me. What would that accomplish? I asked. Would it make the technology better? Would it help our clients? Would it advance our mission? Revenge is expensive when measured in time and energy. I'd rather spend both on building something meaningful. You're not human, Lauren said. No one is this calm about being dismissed for 7 years. I'm calm because I knew the truth, I said. Your opinions didn't change reality. Helix Systems was valuable whether you acknowledged it or not. Your belief in my failure didn't make me a failure. It just revealed your own biases and insecurities. Lauren flinched. That's harsh. But true, I said. You needed me to be unsuccessful to feel successful yourself. That's not confidence, Lauren. That's fragility. The words hung in the air between us. Finally, Lauren nodded slowly. You're right, she said quietly. I've been comparing myself to you since we were kids. Always needing to be better, smarter, more successful. And when you seemed to be struggling, I felt validated. That's awful to admit, but it's true. Thank you for admitting it, I said. Can we fix this? Mom asked. Can we start over knowing what we know now? We can move forward, I said. But we're not starting over. You can't unknow what you've learned about yourselves tonight. Use that knowledge. Be better. I picked up my bag and headed toward the exit. The bartender caught my eye and gave me a small thumbs up. I smiled in return. At the door I turned back. Dad, congratulations on your retirement. Sorry your party became about me. That wasn't my intention. It's fine, Dad said, though he looked exhausted. Emma, I'm proud of you. I should have said that years ago, but I'm saying it now. I'm proud of what you've built. Thank you, I said, and meant it. I drove home in my 7-year-old Honda, the same car Lauren had mocked multiple times for being unsuitable for a professional. The irony wasn't lost on me. My apartment was modest, 1,500 square feet, tastefully furnished, comfortable. I'd bought the building 3 years ago when the previous owner went bankrupt, paid cash and lived in the penthouse while renting out the other units. The rental income alone was more than most people earned annually, but I'd never mentioned that to my family. They'd assumed I was barely scraping by in a rental apartment. Just like they'd assumed everything else. My phone was exploding with notifications. Messages from colleagues, investors, journalists, former professors, distant acquaintances who suddenly remembered we were friends. I turned it off and poured a glass of wine. The Bloomberg segment was already online, being shared millions of times across social media. My face was everywhere. That professional photo I'd hoped to avoid publicizing for at least another year. Privacy was over. That realization settled over me like a weight. But the company was still mine. The technology was still revolutionary. The mission was still important. And tomorrow I'd wake up and continue building something that mattered. Whether my family understood that or not was ultimately their problem to solve. I'd been solving my own problems for 7 years. I wasn't about to stop now. Not for $1 trillion. Not for anyone.